What's up, everybody? It's Frederick Douglass Bussey back with another whiteboard session. Really glad to be here with you today. We're going to talk about a great subject. We're going to talk about, is business an investment or not? How should you be thinking about your business? And maybe this would be a transformational shift for you in terms of building and growing your business and how you are thinking about it in terms of wealth, managing wealth, etc., etc. Let's go to work. All right, got the sound fixed. We're going to talk about this one more time, what we are doing with our business. Today we're talking about business. Isn't it an investment? Is it really real? Is it something that really matters? How you think about your business in terms of growing it and things of that nature. There are a lot of people that are uncomfortable with talking about business from the aspect of money, right? And so when we talk about making a lot of money, things of that nature, sometimes people get uncomfortable. And I think a lot of it has to do with the way that we think about money because of the way that we are raised, conditioned, etc. But there's a conversation about what it means to be wealthy. And while a lot of people may dream of that, it's really never about the money. Even when people say it's never about the money, it's really about the money. But when they are talking about the money, it's actually about something else. And I want to talk about business from this aspect and talk about investment in this way, right? And let me know in the comments what you think about money. You know, how are you thinking about it, whether it's a tool, whether it's good, bad? If you have a business, are you really interested in being wealthy, right? Are you really interested in making more money than you are now, or are you cool with where you're at? And I told this story the other day when I was talking to someone, and they were talking about the fact that they wanted to make about $90,000 a year in their business and they would be satisfied. And I was just sharing that in my perspective, that's not enough, because you don't have the margin to be able to create more impact if anything ever happens to you. But also this kind of goes to what we think about business and money in general, right? Naomi says she thinks it's a tool or a resource, right? So if that's the case, and if you're using resources, or say that you're a builder and you want to use tools, is having more tools a good thing or not? If it's a tool, but you only have one tool or limited tools, then you are limited in what you can do with that money, right? With those tools. And so what I hear a lot of people say is, or where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck is, they want to grow their business, right? And so let's say that, you got a floor, you want to raise it, you want to grow it, right? But at a certain point, you're going to hit a ceiling, right? And so in between there is where you are. That's what you got. And you have to work within this margin. Now, let's say that above here is where your impact is actually able to start, right? And so there's different levels to being able to grow from above there. What a lot of people want to do is they decide, okay, well, cool. I've only grown to this point. I need more money. I need more resources or more tools. So what will I do? I'm going to start another business, right? And so they start getting these other things that can allow them to be able to make more money, because they believe now I can just take these containers and start stacking them to get to these next levels, right? So let's say that this is $1 million here, just for sake of argument, right? So let's say that that's $1 million, and that's where you want to go. And maybe you're stuck here at maybe 200,000, right? That's roughly 20,000 a month, right? 20,000 a month. And so you decide, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make another business that can make me 10,000 a month, and another 5,000 a month, and another 7,000 a month, and another 13,000 a month, and maybe another 40 a month, right? And so you got all these different things. Can I add that up? That's 25, 65, 75. So now you're roughly there, right? You had $1 million because you got all those different things. That's how people think about business in their minds. People think about business as, well, okay, if this is a container for me being able to get resources, I'm going to go out and get all these other containers. The problem is this, right? The problem is that usually there's a reason why you're capped in your income. And it can be in our pillars, we talk about mindset, influence, and leverage. And so somewhere in there is a reason why you're capped. You're capping your ability to think about your business. You're capping your ability to capture more people, more clients, more revenue in your business, or you're constricted in your ability to be able to leverage what you have to grow more, right? And so all of that is kind of represented here. And what people do is now they take their focus, and instead of figuring out the problem here, they split it up into all these different areas, right? And so what happens is it may feel like in your mind, well, I can just grow this thing to this 10,000, and I can go this to maybe 5, this to 7, this to 13, this to 40. Then I'll be at this mark. Instead of putting all their focus in one place, they put it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different places. And what do you think what happens with your focus when you dilute it, right? Now, we're taught in investments that you want to do such a thing called diversify, right? You want to diversify your best investments because you're basically saying, I'm going to allocate a certain level of risk across the board so that if I lose in one area, I can gain in another. If I lose in one area, I can gain in another. The problem with thinking about that or applying that level of thinking of investment to your focus is that it actually works in reverse. So instead of diversifying, you are diluting. So your energy, your focus, everything starts to dissipate. And so this is one of the main challenges you hear. There's a lie that goes around that people hear that, millionaires have 7 different streams of income. But the thing about it is they don't have 7 different streams of income initially. They grow that first stream here, right? So then what they do is they learn to do something very simple. They just take the cap off, right? If you want to grow, then grow here. Go to this level, and then figure out how to go to the next level. And then figure out how to go to the next level until you're superseding where you were before, because all of your focus is here. And so is business an investment? Yes, but it's not an investment in the way that we think it is. We think that we are using this and we're going to grow more containers and things like that. But what it really does for us is that it allows us to be able to move forward in one direction. It's as if I often call business a vehicle to get you where you want to go in life, right? But you can't get from one place to another in multiple vehicles. You can only take one at a time. And if you're taking a vehicle initially that won't get you all the way to your destination, you have to get out of that and get into another vehicle, right? And I can see where people think that they can have multiple cars, but you can only run it in one car at once. And that's what a lot of people are doing when it comes to business and investment. Then when you get to make that shift, you start to understand that I have the capacity to be able to grow this thing as big as I need it to be, as big as I want it to be, if I just shift my focus and my attention. So even in your business, if your focus is diluted on multiple things, right? And you're not able to focus on what? The one thing that takes the lid off every level, right? So as I get to the next level, I want to be able to figure out how do I take that level off. And then lastly, here's what I want to talk about when it comes to business as an investment period, right? Once you hit a certain level where you have the margin to be able to do that, right? So let's say that, again, let's use a container model, right? So let's say that you have lifestyle, which is basically your expenses, the things you want to buy, where you want to live, how you want to move, you set aside money for a rainy day, whatever the case may be. Let's say that this whole container is $1 million, right? We'll just use that because it's a nice round figure. And because we have the $1 million year coming up on December 6th, make sure you're there for that masterclass. If you haven't yet registered, watch the link below and join in that. But let's say that this is your lifestyle right here. This is what represents your lifestyle. All right? You got enough money. Everything above this, let's say that it costs you $250,000, $300,000, or whatever to live. Well, let's call it 300,000, right? 300K. Now, 700K is your margin. Of course, we know we've got taxes, we've got expenses, things of that nature. But let's say we've got $1 million profit free and clear every year, just for the sake of argument. $700,000 a year. Now, you could save that. Now you have 2 years, 2.5 years of lifestyle saved up. But what you can also do now is start to deploy this and start to make investments in other pots, right? And so when it becomes a vehicle and you have other things you can invest in another business, right? But I love what Gary Keller says. Gary Keller says he never starts another business until he finds a person that can run that business, that can grow that business. He looks for empire builders, as he calls them, right? And so it could be a person, it could be another business, whether you're doing angel investing or you're doing stocks and bonds, whatever the case may be. Part of the investment process, we'll talk about this in another video, but part of it is just the insurance. How do you preserve what you have? How do you conserve that? And the more money you make, typically you become more conservative because you realize, hey, it took a lot of effort to get here. It took a lot of focus and direction to be able to do that. And what a lot of people end up doing is they're chasing that money through a lot of other means, and they're not really being smart with the way that they're doing it. When you get to a certain level, you start to understand, hey, this is valuable. I don't want to lose it, right? But when you're chasing it, you're so desperate a lot of times. And so what if you could see that as inevitable? If you can create an inevitable path to making this container here, and then this is the next phase, which is investing in other things, this allows you to be able to grow from here. And so what you've done is you created enough margin where I don't need all of this to be successful or to be fulfilled or to make things work, but I have a plan already in place that I know that when I hit this mark, now this money is allocated for these things, right? So I've got money set aside, I've got money to live on, and then I'm going to put it in other places. And that's where your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different streams of income come from, right? Now you got all these other pots that's growing your money for you. But there's one other thing I want to talk about, and I want you to understand this as well. The more places you put money, if money is a resource, if money is an energy, if money is a tool, the more places you have things, the more your energy is still connected to it. Your mindset is still thinking about it, right? You have to think about, what are my stocks doing this week? What is this investment doing here? You got to have meetings and you got to have reports. And you want to make sure people aren't walking off with the money that you put out there, because it's still your money. You still are expecting a return. And the thing about it is, you're still going to lose sometimes. You're not always going to win. So when your business becomes the investment vehicle, the main thing that you have to focus on, the main thing that you get to focus on is this. You want to focus on this because this is what makes all this other stuff go, right? And unless you are selling this business, for 3x, 5x, you're having an exit where you're walking away from that business with a lump sum, the thing that goes away when you sell your business is cash flow. And the thing that your business generates is cash flow, right? And so this is what allows you to have this container, but for this year and next year and the year after that, and hopefully the year after that. And what most people are missing is that they don't have the capacity to sustainably create this every year. So it's one thing to build it up to $1 million, right? It's another thing to be able to build it over time. And that requires not luck, not just talent. It requires a blueprint. And that leads me to understanding why we're doing the $1 million year, the blueprint for building a 7-figure business in 12 months or less. Because it's not just about doing that in less than a year. It's not just about doing it this year or next year. It's about, how do I create something, this container that can do this every year? Because this is where it really gets powerful. Because when you can do this, what are we talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add another year here, right? Now we're talking about $1 million every year, but now we're talking about the possibility of investing $700K times 5, which is $3.5 million. going into these different things. And so now if I'm getting just a 10% return on average from these 7 different places, now I'm creating an additional $350,000 per year, which turns into an additional 350,000 times 5 is 1.5, $2.5 million, right? That I didn't have to do anything for. And so I've turned this $1 million into $6 million in 5 years by being conservative and focusing on how I can just grow one thing, right? Because here's the thing, when people focus on multiple things, none of those things actually ever succeeds. And what you're really doing is you're trying to out-hustle your fear. You're hoping that you can get one thing to pop off and be successful instead of having all those other things go. Amy's asking a question, if you have debt, do you pay off debt or still invest knowing that you can claim the interest against your business? Well, there's a couple things. One, it depends on what kind of debt it is. But I will tell you, and this is opposite of the Dave Ramsey philosophy, right? You either have to learn how to make that debt work for you, but if you already had it, like student loans, you already had a house, a mortgage or whatever, or maybe you've taken out a loan to pay for your kids' college, or you've got medical bills. You got to learn how to outpace that debt, right? And so sometimes what you can do is you can go and renegotiate lower terms. If you can't, sometimes you stop paying it for a while until you can get that other place in place, the other income in place. You allocate the resources in the right way. You can claim the interest against your business. But I guess I would need to be clear if we're talking about business debt or personal debt, right? Business debt is a good thing if you understand how you're allocating it, right? If that business debt is helping to build this here, right? That's actually a whole other video that we can talk about that. But in essence, if you're looking at your business as an investment vehicle, period, right? It is the launch pad for everything else that you want to build. Then you need to make sure that's as solid as possible. And so having a clear outside, business debt, right? So if you have a clear understanding of why you're getting the debt in the first place, and we have a lot of people out there now talking about business credit and how you can allocate that and things of that nature. But what people tend to forget is that it's not free money. It's not just there to go buy a car or buy these other things. It's how can I invest in these things that are going to make me more money? Can I go and buy some equipment that if I buy this equipment and for $5,000, the return on that is going to be another $20,000, $50,000, $100,000, right? So you need to be thinking about why you're getting the money and what the return is, right? And so business debt makes sense because it allows you to leverage things over time. I'll dive into this quickly because since you raised it, I don't want to leave it dangling here, right? But the most important thing when you're growing your business, or really time, is the cash flow. What hurts most people in their business is the lack of cash flow, right? So you got different expenses, right, that are all going out of, let's draw a little pot here, right? This is your business, your money pot. And so things are always going to be flowing out to these expenses. And if you only got a little bit flowing in, right, eventually you're going to get low. What you need is a constant, consistent thing to keep this full so that when the money comes out, you're able to be able to grow it consistently. Now, the beautiful thing about debt when you use it the right way is that you borrow the money and it comes in, right? So it's this big influx of cash that allows you to invest in something, and the amount of money that you put out is such a smaller amount. So let's say you borrow $10,000 to buy some equipment, right? But that's not $10,000 out of the pot. You're literally paying maybe $100 a month or $50 a month. And so if you are able to, through that $10,000 in a piece of equipment, able to generate another $1,000, $5,000, you're $900, you're $4,900 to the good every month, right? And that allows you to be able to get more consistent because essentially, if I can take that $10,000 that turns into $5,000 every month, I can pay that loan off in a couple of months. but I have the ability with that equipment to continue to generate more money. So over time, what I've done is I've taken a $10,000 loan and turned it into $60,000 over the course of a year, and it only cost me $100 a month. Rates may vary, right, depending on the interest rate. But essentially, I made $50,000 and it only cost me $100 a month. And I was able to generate $4,900 of cash flow, right? And so thinking about it in terms of what is it the piece that I can use in leverage? When we talk about leverage in the Scalosity model, that's what we're talking about. Where can we find the pieces of leverage to be able to generate more income? Now, of course, there's other pieces that go along with that. We'll talk about that more later. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the $1 Million a Year Masterclass, which I encourage you to register for if you've not yet done that already. Okay, so let me know what your thoughts are. What are you discovering in this whole session? If you have questions, you're watching this on replay, drop a hashtag replay and let us know what you're discovering as well. If you're on LinkedIn and Facebook, of course. If you are on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, share this with someone that you think will find it valuable as well. I appreciate your questions, and I can't see your Facebook user. You can let StreamYard know who you are so I can see your name next time. We're getting ready to get out of here. I got to go make lunch for the kids, but I appreciate each and every one of you. If you've not yet had a chance to register for the $1 Million a Year, let me get that link for you as quickly so I can share that with you. And also, if you've already registered for that, we've got a pre-training that's coming up here later today. We've got a bonus day that we're doing with that. What other event have you ever been to where they give you trainings in advance of the training, right? Where they give you more information, more resources to be able to get ready. The pre-training is designed to help you to get the most out of the event. We've got that coming up in about 30 minutes here. We'll be doing that live as well. And I appreciate it. Hi, Goldie. Goldie said this was profound information and perfect timing for my business, which has many facets. However, in considering how to scale the business, this was perfectly themed on the questions I had. Thank you. Very well articulated. Thank you, Goldie. I'm glad that was helpful for you. That is what we strive and aim to do. If you got any more questions, anything else pops up, feel free to drop those in the comments below. And if you are by any means still wondering about how you can continue to scale your business forward, absolutely, you want to register for the $1 Million a Year Masterclass. It's going to be amazing. We've got a lot of people that are signing up more and more every day. And we've got some other ways. We're also going to do a Q&A, which is an upgrade, but you're going to get with the Q&A a 1 hour one-on-one, not one-on-one, but personal session where you can answer questions that may pertain to your business in particular. And then also we've got other goodies as well, other courses and other freebies that we're going to give to you. In addition, if you sign up for the Q&A VIP session. All right. So with that being said, I am out of here. Going to go make lunch. I'll see you guys on the next session. It's Friday, so we'll see you on Monday. And if you're watching this on replay, maybe I'll see you in a second. All right. I'm Frederick Douglass Bussey, Icon Status, Ever Forward.